Hi.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Welcome.
Stanley.
And Otito from the Great Couch. It feels like we've been gone forever, but you know, we're now in the season where people are kind of coming to join us on the couch, and that's what will keep happening, right? So you may be getting an invite from us soon. But yeah, what's today about?
Today is about personality and marital peace.
Okay. And I think
Myth or the truth?
Yeah, myth or truth, right?
Okay.
Does your personality influence, how, should I say, stable your marriage is, or how peaceful, or how loving, or whatever other adjective you want to use there? And what informed this was a conversation we're having over the weekend, and Stan was saying how, I have to give it to him, that the people who I kind of, if you look back through like our history and the people that we kind of interact with and all that we feel like, the men many times are,
Chilled.
laid back, chilled. And so we're wondering that does that have anything to do with it, right? So it kind of caused us to go back into our own history, sort of. But there's also the concept of people saying, right, which I think some men have bought into, that
Happy wife, happy life. Well, not bought into. Everywhere we've been. Remember there was the thing with Oasis where they had this couple that had been married for about how many years? They were the oldest married couple in the group. I don't know, about 40 years
and
or something. And they asked the husband, and that was his first thing.
Happy wife, happy life. And both of us were like, okay, hey,
so,
however, though, I've seen situations like where honestly a person was what I would say cowed, right, into becoming a different version of themselves, where you're like
cowed being the politically correct statement, right?
Yeah, so when you're married to someone who's so domineering and so like controlling, right? I'm just going to use the word controlling, and at some point maybe the woman, which is typically, again, not to be gender specific, right, but typically, right, you see a situation where maybe the woman then says, I don't want any trouble, please, and so then they become gentle. But then the question now becomes, were they born that way? Is that how they are, or just you're kind of adjusting, right, to this new state?
Not only the women though, right? I mean, it could go the other way.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's what we're leading to, where
Yeah.
the men are like, you know what, this lady's too loud, I don't want any more nagging.
Yeah.
Let me just do what you need to do and whatever you want, and that way you keep quiet and live my peace.
Yeah. And I think that, there's that part, but then we say, is the person putting that on just so conflict can cease? Because then it becomes just a question of being conflict avoidant, and not necessarily that you are a quiet person, right? So I think there's that, it's like a seesaw, right? You don't know which one it is playing out at any point in time. But really though, what does personality have to do with it? Does it feed into compatibility? Can people who are not compatible based on assessment, right? Because if you were to do a standard, marital assessment, personality assessment is part of it, right? So let's say you did that. If people were found not to be compatible, do you think that it will work? Do you think it's, personality things are like, frou a myth?
And what about the question of love, where it says if you love somebody, you will change, or the person will change? Love is enough. I mean, just putting that out there.
Is love enough?
These days, love doesn't seem to be. Let me not blaspheme there.
Is love enough? That's a question you answer maybe on the next episode. Think about it. Is love enough? However, right, you're just saying that if, for instance, you were told that, your personality matching, right? Because if you think about it, at the bottom of all of these apps, there are personality assessments that go behind that you may not be aware of, right? And so it's like you are matching with somebody who is kind of similar to you and all that kind of thing. So that even though people may say things about it, it's being used. It's just that you will not know that this is how it's coming up, because you're not giving a test saying this is you and this is you. But perhaps it just happens that you find that there are, huge degrees of incompatibility based on your personality. Do you think that it's something, that could work or not work, right? Because I as a person, maybe because I do personality research, I find value in it. I find that it kind of helps you know the kind of person you are, right? And obviously you don't have to go to a full testing, whatever. You can just have it in conversation, right? Like with, what's his name? John Gottman, yeah? So some of those questions you can, ask, answer, and then on the basis of that, you can score yourself, right? So then you say, I find value in that. I'm not saying that it's for everyone, because it allows you to make a clear-eyed choice, right, at that beginning, if you can. Or when you are now married, right, it then gives you more
understanding for the other person.
Yeah, of the other partner. So, yeah.
In our case, which one did we use?
I think it was the MBTI, but it was in a book, right? And many of these books use the MBTI. But
MBTI standing for?
Myers-Briggs, I think, tests instrument. I can't remember. MBTI. And I'm the one doing the research. But it's because we don't use that. We don't really use the Myers-Briggs. So if you're a Myers-Briggs fan, apologies, but in research, right, that's not necessarily what's used. It's used the 5-factor model. But again, though, should someone now get stuck saying this is how I am?
No. Easier said than done, but no. Because people can't change. I mean, there's that all growth mindset thing. Whereby, okay, if you're happy where you are, then that's fine. But if you do not like where you're at, you have the power and the ability to change. I think God gives us that ability to change also.
And I'll say that's one of the downsides, right, of that typing, right? Because if you say, oh, this is me, as opposed to the others that use a spectrum, and we're all on the spectrum, literally, right? We're all on a spectrum, and so changing is just that you may become more extroverted. Let's say we're using extroversion, introversion, but you are not going to leave your
core
intrinsic introversion, right? It's just that you become
intrinsic introversion. Okay. Wow. Okay.
It's just that you become, more of a people person. Like you will do that, right? And that's the change. But it's not that you go like flip. You just become this extroverted person, because then the question is, were you really that introverted? Or was just a situational thing? You see what I was saying about the beginning of that? Some people just become gentle because they don't want any trouble. Conflict. But it's not that they were probably that gentle. You know what I mean? In terms of maybe their approach to seeing things, right?
That takes guts to do something. Like, take for example me. Typically, this whole camera thing is not me. I would rather have people in the room where I can get energy from them and get some type of feedback. But, I mean, we are trying to move our spectrum dial a little bit more.
And then some of us in the room were quiet, right? They say, I didn't know you were not this quiet. Yes, because I can't see anybody, right? I'm talking to myself, so that's okay. But yeah, so in our case, right? What's that story? Talking about this thing, like why we actually came back to, because it's a historical thing. When did we do the first one?
Gosh, in UI 19 Gogoro, and
that's the book. Look at the age of the book, and we thought we had lost it,
and then we now went to go and buy another one.
Bought it again. So if you need a copy. So we talk about this in the book that we wrote, right? That this book, this must have been like our third copy at the time. It was just such a popular book among the singles. It's dated itself because it's like maybe written in the 90s, but it's still very relevant because we've done it again, and that's why we're talking about this, right? Because when we did the personality testing in the book, right? Then this was 20 years ago, 22.
Don't date me. Don't date me.
Oh my goodness.
Back then, let's say
I have known this person for more than half my life. Okay, but let's say 22 years, right? Did I just give a clue? That's okay. I say more than half my life.
So it tagged me as a feeler.
Yeah.
And you as...
If we were to use the letters, right? ENFP.
Okay.
So extroverted, intuitive, feeling, and perceiving.
I shall remember.
I know.
You can tell. Okay, let me just keep
so again, not to go with the alphabet soup, but that's why we are using the acronyms, right? You can go read about this, testing. You can go read about the different personality types and all that, right? So there's ENFP. That's what he was, and at the beginning, when I did it, I was ISFJ, right? So just follow along. We're getting somewhere. So now, 20 years later, or 22 years later, we're doing the book again, right? During the pandemic. And at the time of the pandemic, we had not found this book. Yeah. We did not find this book. We didn't know where it was. So we're using the new one. And so we did the testing and all that. So last year, I was going through my stash of books and I found this one. And I was like, oh, wow, I wonder, this was the idea. I wonder what the results were back then from that first one. And it turned out that they were the same.
Exactly the same.
Right? I think I only shifted from the
thinking to feeling.
From the sensing to intuiting. So I moved from ISFJ to INFJ, right? So more of the thing. But again, right, it was the same thing. Let's just put the same thing, because depending on the season of life I'm in, you could find me as an N or as an S, right? That's that thing of that spectrum. That thing was what? Eye-opening, I guess. Yeah. To say that, for
all the growth and all the experiences and all
the marriage, right? One was before marriage, this is after marriage, and 2 kids, and you're like, wow, okay. I guess maybe people don't generally change their base. So much alphabet soup, as they say, but the idea is that the first 2 letters, right? Those first 2. This obviously we don't have time to go into the fullness of those MBTI, but there's a wealth of information out there, right? And we can put some links down below. But the first 2 is really about how you process the world, your energy, right? Whether you're introverted, extroversion, and then the last 2 is more about decision making and structure. Right? And so the idea here that we kind of gleaned after all these years is that, how they say opposites attract, right?
Yeah, but opposite may attract, but it's the similarities that keep you in the, I don't want to say in the fight, but keep you together for the long haul.
Yeah.
I think that's important within the boundaries of a Christian marriage.
Yeah. But then the similarities too, right? You also, it's not to say again, like we were saying, that this is,
you don't rest on your
oars, yeah. Yeah.
And
so,
and then what about people trying to change? So if you find yourself that there's too conflicting, you don't want to say, this is the way I'm set, and so you don't. At least for us, there was a strive for me to try and get a little bit more academic and read some more books to try and just this was this person, or you would share articles with me, and like okay, at first I was like, why is this person bothering me, sending me all this stuff, as in it's too much reading. But every now and then you glean a piece from here, you glean a piece from here, and it became less competitive, at least for me, and more collaborative in that, okay, what can I learn and how will this help me in my family, in my career, and in kids, and even in our relationship. So, I mean, and also it was a way to, how do I say, fill her love banks, because like having something that we can discuss, having more things to discuss about, as in talk about, oh, well, this person said this, well, I don't agree, I don't see how this comes that way, and as well, this is my take on this is what happened to me in the past, and thereby just grow that that love bank account, that love language deposit, as it were.
I mean, I guess that's from your perspective, because from my perspective, it wasn't like I was trying to, change this person in any way. There was nothing. It was just me. When you're enjoying what you're doing and you want to share with your partner, right? So there's that perspective, which is another thing of that idea of how you process thoughts, right? Because one person may be going from the perspective of, I just want my partner to enjoy what I'm enjoying, but the other partner, right, being in a different headspace is going to be like, are you trying to make me feel are you trying to make me feel like I don't know stuff, that's why you're sending it to me or something? I don't know. I'm just saying that, this is kind of these are the kinds of conversations that we tend to have, that we're bringing out here into the open. For me, the extroversion was what I wanted to tap into, because I'm like, how do you have all these friends, right? I'm a person who just can be by myself. I used to think it was pathological.
Self-food books. And now the kids are picking up.
But I'm pushing out of that comfort zone, pushing out all the time to say, I want to meet new people. I want to, make more friends. But we're making it work, right? Because it's like you set a goal that you meet X number of new couples and all that. So here is what happens. Like, he'll meet them and bring them to the house, right?
And
somehow.
And she'll cook for them, and then they want to come back. So
you're balancing, all these strengths, as it were. But the idea is not to try to get people to change, right? Because it's not possible. I don't know how to put it. I think I'm just going to come out and just say,
I was going to say that you can't really
you can't change
somebody
a person,
from the
right?
outside. Yeah.
However, the like love and curiosity is just say, what makes my partner happy? What are the things that make them happy? How do I feel their love banks, like he keeps saying, right? So with a lot of affirmation, you just may watch the person moving on the spectrum, not necessarily changing, as it were, but that slight movement on the spectrum can look like huge change. It can look like huge change. And it can
not
be.
Just look, it can be.
So when people say change too, it's not like you are saying you are becoming a different person. It's you're becoming a more, as they say in psychology, ideal version of you, right? In that sense, the idealized self or the ideal self, right? So it's not like you as a person, you are different, right, in that sense, but it's just that you are optimizing, right, those parts of you now, maybe because of the love and the affirmation you're now getting from the other party.
Back to where the love you have for the other person, and you want to see the person shine. You want to be around. You want to be one of the people that makes them happy, or around their space when they're happy. How do we summarize this whole personality and marital piece? And I think one way that we can frame it is that you don't want to apologize for who you are, but you don't want to use that as an excuse for not becoming a better person within the couple.
For the sake of the union, right? For the sake of this new social unit, right? But I think, I always say that for us, I think we blossom more into when you realize this, it's like, okay, accepting, what do they say? Acceptance is the first, what's that thing? Is the first step to change, right? Okay. If anything, like you cannot change what you are not willing to accept.
Okay.
Right. I'm saying even in terms of optimizing the ideal self. If you say, this is what I would like to do. I would like to be more extroverted, right? I've accepted that I'm introverted. I'm not fighting that, right? I'm now saying I am introverted and I'm going to try and be more extroverted, as opposed to saying I wish I were extroverted. I wasn't born like that, right? So continuing to wish is just going to keep me stuck, so to speak.
Sure. So that's what we have for you for this week. Next week we have some more people on the couch.
Yep.
And are they going to be really on the couch or virtually on the couch?
You'll see.
Find out. So
yeah, okay.
Don't forget to like and subscribe
and share, right?
Share if it's a blessing.
Yeah.
And send us your questions,
Yep.
your comments.
Yep.
And we'll see you guys